In the big scheme of things, when this all came to light, myself and Mr. Gowdy from South Carolina wrote a letter to Eric Holder back in December asking for specific constitutional authority and tracking it to the activities of drone strikes against Americans overseas. We didn't get an answer. We've sent a letter subsequent to that when we got more information on February 8th. We still haven't received an answer from Eric Holder. And then, as the chairman has pointed out, there is no one from the Justice Department here with their battery of lawyers. We hadn't got one that will stand here or sit here and tell us the constitutional authority for killing Americans overseas that fit this criteria. I'd like unanimous consent to introduce both of these letters into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, they will be made part of the record.
My background as a judge, I believe in judicial review. I get troubled by prosecutors who want to do judicial things and then not tell us how they come to certain conclusions. I don't buy the argument there's not enough time to get some judicial review. 22 years of experience, judges working with law enforcement can move pretty fast under all of the serious examples that you have talked about. So I don't buy that we have to let prosecutors do judicial review. They work for the executive branch. That's just my constitutional perception on that whole issue. So I think the points are, as you have said, who fits this criteria and who makes the determination that that person fits the criteria. Senior level executive branch person yet to be named, like a draft choice, that troubles me. Who that going to be? Who is that person? We don't know. It's just a senior level executive person. I don't think that's the authority of the judicial or the executive branch. And then who makes that determination? And then that person is allowed to be on the kill list. Mr. Chesney, University of Texas. Congratulations, by the way. Two daughters there. Let me ask you this, and you made the comment during your testimony that if there is a judicial review, it needs to, good idea maybe to review it when the person's put on the kill list. I'm troubled with the concept that they're put on the kill list, they're killed, and then we're supposed to have a review after that to see if it was lawful. I mean, that doesn't do the dead guy much when we find out, oh, we made a mistake here, you know. And don't get me wrong, I don't like these people. I think they need to be, you know, long arm of the law ought to deal with them about crimes against America. But I mean, I'd ask you to weigh in on this to help us improve this system that we're operating under. Because, you know, as you pointed out, you got to get judicial review to listen to a phone conversation with an American overseas, but you don't need judicial review to kill them overseas. So do you think you need some kind of judicial review at the outset of putting this person on the kill list?
Sir, I think it's a good idea, and I think it can be done if done very carefully. And I think the key to doing it carefully so that it simultaneously addresses both the interest of the citizen and the imperative of protecting the country that rests on the president's shoulders is to disaggregate the questions you might ask. And we don't want judges interfering in extremely time-sensitive questions about should we pull the trigger right now in this instance, there's only this much time to do it. But that's not actually the fact pattern presented by these specifically identified kill list scenarios. As we know, as the Al-Awlaki case illustrates, there's a considerable period of time, and there's a distinction between deciding is the person in the attackable category in general and whether or not some particular attack should be carried out. And there's a role for the judiciary if Congress wants to establish it, and I think they probably should. As to the early stage determination, which isn't a time-sensitive determination in the same way.
You know, we've been talking about one individual. What if the individual is not in one of the countries that we all suspect where Al-Qaeda is? Because now they are everywhere. What if the individual's in one of our allies' countries? What if they're in France? What if they're in Mexico? What if they're in Canada? Is the discretion with the White House, whoever it is, to get that person on the kill list, and all of a sudden they end up in France and we can go after them?
Sir, I think there's a different set of rules that come into play in that scenario.
All right.
Now, it connects up with the administration's rationale. They emphasize capture must not be feasible. If you have someone in France, the United States, Mexico, England, any of these places, capture is almost certainly going to be feasible, and that alone may address it.
I know my time is limited. In fact, I'm out. But I just like to ask, though, is that discretionary with the executive branch? Is that policy or is that written law?
I don't think. Well, the whole problem here with the uncertainty is we don't have clear written law, right?
Okay.
It's uncertain. That said, I do think that the feasibility test may well be implicated by the Fifth Amendment, the Fourth Amendment.